Check, check, check. Starting test. Oh, I think I'm live. Okay. So, hey everyone. Good morning. Side note: I follow one of my family members, and they do a live. Now I know why there's a little bit of delay sometimes when they record. Really weird. Anyway, I wanted to do a quick live this morning. Just some stuff top of mind. Forgive me as I stretch. I don't know why I started stretching. Um, anyway, happy Sunday. Yeah, I just had some thoughts top of mind this morning. So a little bit for folks that aren't aware, I'm very ritualistic, if you will. I wake up pretty much at the same time every morning, about 6 a.m. Most mornings, about 5, sometimes 6 days a week, depending on how I'm feeling. I'll end up working out. But then I also just have my rituals. I'll play fetch with rigor. I'll shower, and then I'm ready to go by like 8 a.m., 8:30 to get the day started and do work. But the one thing that I actually do every now and then in the mornings as well is I will journal. Right. So I started journaling. It's been a couple years now. I was studying for a master's degree, and there was a class there. I think it was, I don't know if it was like another leadership class, but one of the assignments was to start a journal. And so I started it, and at first I was like, okay, what's this journal stuff? Like, this is seems really kind of too spiritual for me. Like, oh, journal, put your thoughts on paper, be creative. I've had to redefine what creativity is since then, but I realized like it's actually kind of freeing, if you just start writing stuff. And so I've had this journal now going on 2 years, and I love it. I guess I should have brought it in the room. It would have been cool to share. All right, save it for next time. But it's a leather bound journal, has some pages in there. And I love the leather. Like, I love just smelling leather for one. So that's really cool. So in that sense, it's like ritualistic. I have a spot in my other room where I have a desk, not this, studio. I have a spot in another room where I will, sit down. I have my drink, and I open up my leather binder or my leather notebook. And before I do that, I smell it because I just love the smell of leather. I feel the pages. It's this kind of nice, like off-white color. So it's like almost calming. I have a paper clip at the page that marks my latest entry, and I go right to that page. I pick up my pencil, and for me, it has to be a mechanical pencil. Again, I think I just have these nuances to my personality, and I'm not afraid to admit them. But I need graphite on paper. Like, I need to feel the feedback of me writing words in pencil while the graphite interacts with the page. It's just something that's just soothing. I just love it. So I pull it out and I start writing. The interesting thing, for the past 2 years, I've been doing this journal, and I do it. I go in phases. I'll do it, a couple days a week to sometimes I'll go a month. I looked at the last entry and it was 2 weeks ago. So like, it just really kind of depends on how busy I am. Am I making time for this? But I've never looked back to my original entries. Like, I just haven't. Um, I don't know why. I don't know if it's just like I don't want to jinx anything, or I don't want to judge my own writing, because it's really free flow. Like, I just write stuff. Um, and maybe one of these days I'll go back and look at it. But the reason why I kind of, I was prompted to do this quick live. I'll just be upfront and honest. I'm experimenting with all kinds of media, right? So it's normally I do my daily doses on a phone. I didn't call this a daily dose. I don't know why. Maybe it's just because I'm on my desktop. But as I'm practicing with this media, I got my lights set up, and I just want to use it. It's cool. So maybe that's why I'm just doing a live real quick, because my office is awesome. Like, look around. Like, this is cool. I talk about celebrating wins and acknowledge the goodness. My freaking studio is really, really cool. My studio slash desk slash office slash writing for surface slash gaming center, everything. Anyway, super awesome. So I figured, why not? Let me just try this. on the desktop. So, I was writing my journal today, and briefly, my eye caught a couple words on the previous entry. Um, and this is the only reason why I'm shifting my thought from never wanting to read it to maybe I'll read it in the future. Is the previous entry was about the difficulty that Beth and I were having about finding an appropriate cleaner for Airbnb. And so it's interesting, like, oh man, like that was 3 weeks ago. But so much has changed since then. So then it kind of got me thinking. I'm like, well, we have to definitely acknowledge the wins. I talk about that a lot and share our experiences. But one thing that really came to mind, and this is just maybe, again, something that I call it, quote unquote, unique to me. But one of the things, unique, right? Again, I talk about uniqueness. Maybe it's special to me. We're all unique. And we're not, because those unique experiences someone else shares. Don't get me started on those previous lives. Go back and watch my previous live last week. But one of the things that my wife has been amazing about and allowed me to do is really be comfortable with who I am, right? And so I say that because I've been telling people a lot, and people don't believe me, but it is true. I am introverted by nature. I am. Like my part of my ritual every single morning, it's just me and my wife at home. She's not awake. It's just me. It's my alone time, right? I can get up and I can work out. I don't need anyone there to motivate me. I can develop my own workouts. I can drive. I can be driven. I mean, I don't need that. I don't need people around me, right? I love going out to my office, being in my own space and just journaling. I love, taking this time in the morning, and I'll go start writing in my book. Like, I am introverted by nature, right? But the difference is I don't need to be introverted. I can be extroverted and turn that switch, which is why I can do stuff like this, where I'll put stuff out there and I don't care if anybody wants to judge me. So be it, because I think there's stuff I want to share. And even if it affects even just one person and helps one person, well, that's great. That's why I'll do these kind of things. And I don't care about judgment, right? It's something I like to do. I have cool equipment. Let me share. Let me do stuff. So I can be extroverted. You put me in a crowd of people, and sometimes I do it as a challenge to figure out if I can get people to like break their mold. And if it's in an elevator and people are on their phone. Like last month, I was in Vegas, and I can't tell you how many times I made a challenge to myself. I was on the 30th floor, right? And it was a quick elevator, but I was on the 30th floor. I made a challenge to myself to see how many people, I could either get their name or find out where they're from in the elevator ride from the top to the bottom. Why? Because I was bored. Like, I was working hard, and when I wasn't working hard with the vendor, I was in my hotel room doing work and writing a book. And so that between time in the elevator was my time to go, forget it, I'm going to have something fun. And probably at least 6 people, I either found out their name, where they were from, and or got them to open up to me about something that they were doing in Vegas. It was really cool. So I can flip that switch and be extroverted by nature, but be extroverted, but I am introverted by nature. And so my wife knows that. So again, kind of looping around this whole story back to my journal entry, and I just want to give you some color into the introvertedness, extrovertedness. There are times where even if like we're doing like we plan a family gathering, or there's a barbecue, we're going to a friend's house, or there's a trip, a family reunion that we're traveling. There are just times where I'm like, I need to stay back. I have some stuff on my brain. I need to get it out. So I'm not going to go on this trip. I'm not going to go on that trip. Or, yeah, I'll join you, but I'm going to be a day late. Like, there are those times where, by now my wife realizes, like, when I say that, it's true. Like, I need it, kind of, right? So, like, I'll liken that to, I also get hangry. So if I tell my wife I'm getting hungry, she knows she probably has, 30 minutes or so to like get food in me, because like my blood sugar drops and I get hangry. If I say like I am hungry, it's like find this guy sugar and throw a spoonful of syrup in his mouth, because like the world's gonna end. He gets hangry. Like, my wife knows when I say something, she can interpret and read between the lines. So there are times where I just need to be able to sit back and just, for whatever reason, deal with what I'm going through internally, right? And so the recent example, and then how this all kind of loops back to my journal entry in the Airbnb. So a recent example was last month. My wife had been planning a family reunion with her family in Wyoming. We all knew the dates. We all knew it was coming. As the date approached, I was like, man, I'm feeling anxious. I got my book stuff to do. I have classes. I had a bunch of papers to write. It was coming toward the end of the term. I'm like, man, I was in the process of starting off these podcasts and blog, and all these things were, felt like all these huge, monkeys, several on my back, and just weigh me down. And I'm like, I just need to stay back. And so, I tell Beth, look, I'll be home, I'll get to see everybody as they come into town. I'll see them, our sons and stuff as they get there. And then I'll see everybody when they leave. But I'm like, for the reunion, I'm just going to stay back. I have stuff to work on. And so, again, my wife was wonderful. She didn't question it. She knows, like, when there's those specific times where I'll call out, like, I need this, because it's not like I do it every time. And the bottom line is there are certain priorities where I don't care how I feel, I will go, because that's a family obligation. I need to do that to be there for my family. Other times when it's like, you can go or not, it's not the biggest deal. So I stayed back, and, in the few days everyone was gone, I had papers, I was working on Airbnb stuff. But one of the things that I had scheduled during that time, a couple things. One, I knew we had a check-in, check-out for the Airbnb. We were brand new. I was worried about the cleaner. Again, I'm getting back to that journal entry. This is the stuff I had written down. I was worried about that cleaner doing a good job, because we had a same day check-out, check-in. And I'm like, I just want to be here. And like, lo and behold, like the day the family left the reunion, that was the day of turnover for the Airbnb. So I went right to the Airbnb, and I was working with the lock and this and that. And I'm like counting down. There's only, 4 hours between when the guest leaves and the next one comes. And I'm at the house, and I'm waiting for the cleaner. And I'm like, okay, what's going on? And trying to be cool. 2 hours go by. They finally show up. I'm like, okay, cool. They have a team of people here. I'm good. I did what I needed to. Those are some last little things. And then I left and got a tattoo. Here it is. It's funny. I had to look at which arm it was, right? But got a tattoo that day. And then when that tattoo was done, again, this is the very first day the family leaves. So Airbnb, got tattoo is done. I'm like, it's 3:00, or it was 2:50, and guests are supposed to check in by 3. So I'm like, I'm like 5 minutes away from the Airbnb. I'm gonna go stop by. I just want to see. Again, these are the problems we were having with getting the place cleaned in time. I'm gonna see how it looks. I get there. The house looks good. It's clean. But I go downstairs, and the washer's still going. I'm like, okay, let's see what's going on. I go in there, and it was a mess. It was a dryer. Luckily, the washer was done, but it was a dryer, had a load full of laundry, and there was a pile, literally a pile of every single towel that we owned that had been washed for whatever reason. It had pulled out of the washer, put on the counter next to the dryer while the dryer was going. And I'm like, this is a mess, right? And I'm looking, it's like 2:58 now. And I'm like, ridiculous. So I'm running around, I'm grabbing garbage bags, I'm taking all that wet stuff. I open up the dryer, take it all out, get the laundry room looking good so things are squared away. And I'm like fuming. I'm like, I can't believe this is happening right now. What am I paying this cleaner for? Anyway, I get everything in the car. It's like 3:02. I get out of the house. Everything's good. I'm like texting the cleaner, like, hey, what happened? Whatever. They gave me a story. There was excuses, blah, 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 whatever. So I'm like, okay, fine. So I take all that laundry home. By 3:15, I get an alarm notification. The guest had checked into the house. So I'm like, dang. Had I gone to Wyoming, we would have had this horrible experience for a guest coming in. And this is a month ago, so we're still brand new. This is like our second guest, brand new to Airbnb. And I'm like, thank God I didn't go. This one circumstance, this one thing, wow. I listened to myself. Something was telling me all these things were piling up. I needed to stay back home. And lo and behold, it worked out really well. It worked out in my favor. So that was one part of that little mini trip. Another thing that happened during these days, it was a few days that the family was gone. Another thing that happened, I had scheduled some headshots, right? Because I have all these things going on with the podcast, my book, my publisher, needs professional photos. I'm like, let me get some really good photos done. And so I had used the Airbnb. It was a day that the guests had gone, right? So we started off that little mini family vacation week. Family had gone. A few days later, guests at the Airbnb were gone. Airbnb's cleaned, so I used it for a photo shoot. And so talking to the photographer, getting to know each other and stuff, we're just using the whole Airbnb, the whole thing, and staging photos. And, he's like, hey, is this a home? I'm like, is this your home? And so I started explaining, like, oh, I'm, doing Airbnb. And he goes, oh, actually, I was kind of thinking about doing Airbnb for myself. I'm like, all right, coincidence. So we start talking about stuff, and I'm like, hey, let us know what you need. He's looking into a house in like Aspen. I'm like, man, that's a great market, blah, blah, blah. So we're chatting. And I tell him, yeah, hit me up if you have any questions, want to know the hurdles. I'll tell you right now, like one of the hurdles, find a great cleaner. And I kind of explain, like, this is what I'm going through, and explain the whole thing. He goes, oh, okay. He goes, no, I appreciate that. I'll hit you up. He's like, hey, so if you're interested, my cleaner is really good. I'm like, oh, okay. He goes, yes, well, she cleans my house, but talking to her, I know that she does these kind of short-term rental cleanings as well. So if you're interested, because I haven't seen her work for that short-term rental stuff, but if you're interested, I'll pass on her information. I'm like, awesome. Like, yeah, hit her up. And if she's comfortable, share my phone number and send her my way. And so within a day, he did that. And within another day, I had got a hold of the new person. But 2 days later, she was out to the house and give us, a quote. And we've been using her since. And it has been night and day service for these turnovers. And like last month, we had just started. So the Airbnb was, starting to pick up momentum, wasn't super busy. But in the past 3 or 4 weeks, especially this month, we are super busy. And this cleaner is fantastic. Like the worries and the stress that we had and the anxiety that we had from our previous cleaner going to this person, completely night and day, like so different. And so the purpose is I'm kind of getting to the end here is you never know. I'll back up. I am a faith-based person, right? I'm not using this platform to preach, but I still let people know about my faith. So that being said, you never know how, for me as a faith-based person, how God is going to use you. If you're not faith-based, you never know how the universe is going to use you. You never know how fate is going to use you or what fate has in mind for you. But I think is the point being, be ready to listen. Right? I think is, sometimes we all second guess our own nature. Right? We all second guess, our introvertedness, our extrovertedness, or I've been talking about it a lot recently because it's been popping up. We just compare ourselves to other. Oh, so-and-so is outgoing. So-and-so is always busy. So-and-so is so involved with their family. Like, yes, fantastic. I love how people do that. I do that too. But at the same time, don't get so distracted on what you perceive of others, how you perceive others, that you're not paying attention to what's going on around you and ready to respond. Right? And response can be taking an action. Like, hey, you know what? I want to knock out A through D on my to-do list today, and I'm going to be happy about it. I'm going to do that. Can be taking action. Hey, you know what? I've been looking at this pile of garbage on the side of the house. I need to get it to the dump, and I'm tired of looking at it. I'm going to do it. I have this box of, photos and mementos that I need to like clean through, organize. I'm going to do it. So it could be action-based. But being ready to respond can also be not taking action. Right? The most obvious examples are, let's say you're looking at trying to do something financially and you're like, hey, should I spend this money? Should I do that? Should I refi? Sometimes it's like, nope, I'm not gonna. Like, that's just like, I did my research, but nope, I'm not gonna take action. I'm gonna avoid that. But sometimes not taking action literally can mean, are you listening to yourself and just taking time for yourself? Are you listening to that little spidey sense on the back of your mind that's like, I know I need to go to this family reunion, but if I go, I'm not going to have a good time. And not because I'm worried about being there with those people, but because this other thing, this thing over here needs my attention. And sometimes you don't know what that thing is, but you just know, no, I can't do this action. And I don't know why right now. I don't know, but I know I need to pause from that. And then I just need to be open-minded. And then inevitably, like my example, you're going to find that over here, there's a development that had you not been centered and grounded and listened to yourself and responded by not taking action, had you not done that, who knows what could have happened here, right? So anyway, I'm just throwing out there food for thought. I didn't expect this to be 20 minutes. Shoot, now I think about it, maybe it should have been a podcast, but anyhow, that's it. I mean, it's a Sunday afternoon. It's a Sunday morning. I'm getting ready to go to church here, but I always love journaling. It really kind of sparks a lot of inspiration. And I just wanted to share that today, is just be ready to respond, and with the world that's going on around you. And literally, response can be action, and response can be no action. Anyway, that's it. Hope you like it. Hope it helps somebody. Enjoy the office. I love my studio here. Trying to use it more because why not? I put all the effort into creating this space, so hopefully it shares. I can share it with others a little more. So anyway, that's it. I hope this recorded. I hope all this made sense. If not, oh well. I was rattling for 20 minutes, and if you listened, I appreciate you. Thanks.